All right, here we go. Overdrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker. Up on TSN 2. Brian Hazio, Doug Jeff O'Neill. Jamie Noodles McLennan. Noodles, you're bobbing your head. You like that tune, eh? You
I like
that
a
song?
little Duran.
Little Duran. Okay.
Rio. My name is Rio. I believe that's the name of the song.
Sure, why not? It's 1984 here on Overdrive.
Our 19-year-old grizzled skid producer with these ridiculous songs.
We've had some brutal songs recently.
Like come
brutal.
on.
That's an awful song to start a show.
And I think Doogie is responsible. He's kind of gotten in JP's ear and said, play this. So, Doogie, stop it.
Yeah. Get back to the hits, man.
Yeah,
play the hits.
Let JP do it. Let JP do it.
Or let JP run the whole operation. Because
Doogie is like a 60-year-old man trapped in a 21-year-old body. Like he loves the hits, though. I want to hear. Remember the Chilliwack, My Girl? You remember that song? Good Canadian band.
Not really, Noodles.
You don't remember
that's
that?
the thing. He might be a 60-year-old in a 20-year-old's body. He's a 60-year-old with no musical taste. Like that's not a good thing. Hey, he's like a 60-year-old. Great, then play the Stones or play Zeppelin or something. Duran's like 24th most famous track to start a show.
Rio's pretty good. Yeah, I guess.
Come on, let's go, Doogie. Figure it out. Play some good music.
It's like the first shift of a period. You got to get guys out there hopping to set the tone. Mm-hmm. You can't blow the first song.
That's like 3 whistles in 30 seconds. Like your stops and starts and icing and bad drops. So you blow it down. Like, come on, we're trying to get rocking here. Dump and chase. Let's get moving.
Okay,
right.
So
4 or 5 minutes without a whistle.
Let me throw in a couple just oldies, and you guys tell me if any of them are any good. Canadian bands I'm going to go with. Loverboy.
No.
I can go without it.
Platinum Blonde.
No.
Can go without it.
Really? Geez, now you got me. Like, obviously, Rush. Everybody loves Rush, no?
Yeah, I've come around on Rush.
That too.
I've come around on Rush, but it's got to be like early Rush.
Okay.
I don't need synthesizers and that kind of stuff. We're not playing YYZ or whatever it was, the like 18-minute solo song.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Okay, well, you know what? I just got to move it up a notch. Everyone loves the hip. Everyone guys like bands like that. But if you want to go old school, you're right. Go give me Stones, give me Bon Jovi, give me Metallica. Just mainstream stuff where everybody knows the words. That's why you're seeing a huge comeback with some of these one-hit wonder bands. And I'm not suggesting that. Like, for example, Blink-182, that's not one-hit wonder. No. But now they've come back and are super popular again. Like, they've got a ton of songs.
You know what happens now? If you have a song go viral on TikTok, it blows up again.
Right.
Like, I've seen, because now I'm on TikTok. I have the TikTok app.
Really?
Which I will admit, I get sucked into the rabbit hole because you're just shifting through video after video after video.
Do you post?
No, I don't post. I have 3 or 4 posts in there that I've tried that are nothing. It's like me and my kids or hitting golf balls or something. Nothing significant. I might look into it later. I'll keep you posted. If I start really getting into the TikTok world, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But Stairway to Heaven was a song that really blew up on TikTok. And, all these people, a lot of it was women, like, singing the song or whatever, a certain verse. Right. And what I had read was, now Stairway is one of the most famous songs ever, but it started going viral to the point where on, like, iTunes, it was being bought, like, they're making a fortune. That song came out 50 years ago, incredibly popular song, but you get a big resurgence online like that, and people start buying your stuff again.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You get a one-hit wonder whose song goes viral because of some TikTok dance. That band's like, wow, look at us. We're making a fortune. Maybe people love us again.
I don't understand what you're watching on TikTok. Are you watching, like, people sewing their jeans or like what kind do you just type in golf or like what are you
my algorithm is largely golf and then comedians. You know, it's whatever you stop and watch. But the thing is about TikTok is you might stop and be like, oh, that's interesting there. Here's a bike race through the streets of Paris or something. And next thing you know, you're just seeing all these crazy videos of Paris, of races around the world, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you get labeled as that's your thing. or maybe you watched one video.
That's a dangerous game.
It's a really dangerous game.
The algorithm takes you kind of what you've been looking at. See, I
like Kurt Rambis's TikTok. He must have a dangerous algorithm.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
I made protein balls the other day. Like I found an oat. What is that recipe on Instagram? Mm-hmm. And now when I scroll, it's just all baking goods and all of that type of stuff. You make a 4-ingredient protein ball with oats and banana and all that. Now all of a sudden I can't scroll without that type of stuff hitting me in the face. And then all of a sudden you'll see, I like looking at some morbid stuff too, and all of a sudden that slides through as like the warning, don't press here.
Morbid stuff. What are you watching over there?
I don't know, like people
vampire stuff.
People's last picture where idiots are like standing on a cliff trying to get a selfie and they go over. That type of stuff.
Okay.
Like that. I shouldn't say idiots because they're dead now, but it's like, you know what I mean? Influencers. I've seen that. There's been influencers that are like, hey, I scaled a building for a one-handed shot, and then the guy topples down. It's unfortunate.
It happens all the time. Unfortunately, you're right. You do hear that a lot, like climbing something to get a selfie or a TikTok video.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. So, there's your little daily algorithm update, that it's out there. And the algorithms, they can be dangerous. They can be a dangerous game. You're right, Kurt Rambis. Although on Twitter, they don't show your likes anymore. So Kurt was just, he was ahead of his time. Right? Yeah. Now you can like up a storm and no one knows what you're liking anymore.
Well, I think somebody at the top must have got busted and said, we got to sort this out. Because
hang on a sec. If you like somebody's tweet and somebody else checks on the tweet and it says 1,000 likes, and you click on the likes, it does not show who liked it.
You can't see it anymore. Right. You have no idea who's liking what tweet. Now, my understanding is whoever sent the tweet out knows who liked the tweet. So I guess someone could still out you. I don't see why they would ever do that. But that's definitely what happened. Elon Musk got caught. He got caught. He was liking some stuff he wasn't supposed to like, and he said, screw this. You got to get rid of this, man. Like even if it's a pocket like or something like that, or your kids are messing with your phone, you're right. Back in the day, kids these days have no idea what it was like to know exactly who liked everything. Who liked photos, who liked tweets, who you're following, all that kind of stuff. It was a wild scene, early days of like Facebook and Twitter. Well, because that's what happened to Anthony Weiner. Remember Weiner?
Yes.
He thought he was sending private messages, and it was public on Twitter. And people are like, dude, we are watching you. Do you have any idea what you're up to here?
Insanity.
Crazy.
And she's dating George Soros's daughter, our son now, right? Whatever. Anthony Weiner's ex-wife. I can't remember her name.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's crazy. Look
at you, are deep in a rabbit hole. How would you know that? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? His wife or his ex-wife?
His ex-wife. I can't remember her name. It's a unique name. She's very pretty. And I saw the other day, she's dating George Soros's son.
Okay, well, good for them. Love is in the air.
And Anthony Weiner was like a creepazoid. That's all I know.
Well, Weiner, he was in a really dark place there for a long time. He did some really bad stuff. All right, quickly here. We got some real news we should get to. This is what a lot of my algorithm is pumping out is Blue Jay news because Bo Bichette has been placed on the IL. He's been dealing with that calf issue. He's missed a few games. I guess it got to a point where they said he's going to miss some more time, and it can be retroactive, but they're going to put him on the IL. Orelvis Martinez is coming up, and I'm not surprised by that. I think he's looked good in the minors, but he's their number 2 prospect. He's a kid that a lot of fans are familiar with. Right? We're getting into the dog days of summer here. They got pumped last night. Feels like a season that's going to finish around 500 or below it. And it's like, do we start looking towards the future? They already did that by moving on from Biggio, moving on from Vogelback. They brought up a couple of kids already, and now Martinez is coming up. And Keegan just tweeted out that Alek Manoah underwent successful UCL reconstructive surgery with an internal brace. I don't know what that means. We'll try to find that out, but that doesn't read like Tommy John. So I guess he avoided Tommy John. He'll be done for the year, but I don't know what that means for his timeline. So we'll try to keep you updated as we move forward. But been a tough year. Let's call it what it is, man. Now, Bo going on the IL, he is running out of time and games to salvage the season. An ounce of positivity.
How
it's
many
been
homers
a disaster
does that guy
for him.
have?
I will look up his stats right now, but it is single digits, significantly single digits, and he's been hitting around 200 basically all year. He has 4 home runs. He's hitting 237. He's got an OPS of 629, an OPS plus of 81, and a minus wins above replacement. So in other words, this guy is not even giving you replacement level production, and it's Bo Bichette we're talking about.
Well, he's got the built-in excuse now where he can say, you know what, I played early and I was injured and then I missed some time, and that's a microcosm of the team. The team can say, you know what, we couldn't hit early, but then we ran into injuries and we just couldn't get it together. It's like it's an excuse for the whole team. Like, just ran into injuries, couldn't overcome them. We thought Manoah was going to turn the corner. Injuries, and that's what happened this season, as opposed to directing it at poor play.
Well, but I would challenge that, and you say, on paper, what is this team when everyone's playing to the best of their capability? Is that that's not a...
Well, they're a lot better if everyone's playing to their cups. Yeah.
But they're not a World Series caliber.
That's what I was just going to say. That's not a World Series caliber team.
No.
So, you know what you're saying is, if Vladdy can get back to what? If Bo can get to this, if Springer can get to that. You know, you're constantly asking, Turner hits a dinger last night. He's been hot and cold. Like, you look at some of these guys, like when the team that they built at the start of the season, I don't think any of us, and we had all of our insiders and people from the outside going, yeah, I could see that team, making the play. Like, it wasn't like, hey, this team is serious. Like that, I didn't get that in my assessment.
I think you're right, but that's a big picture conversation. If we're talking about individual players, that's very different. Right? Like Bo Bichette could have a great season and his team isn't good enough. The problem with Bo is that Bo is having a horrible season, and now he's injured. And this is not a long-term injury, but it sets up for Martinez to come up, a young kid who's got some hype. If he comes up and gets hot, he becomes the shiny new toy. And, Bo's running out of time here to make his season look respectable. It's not going to be a great season. This will be the worst statistical season of his career. Like, unless this guy gets red hot for the final 80 games of the year or whatever, which I don't see happening, we're talking about the definition of a down year. Manoah, I had no expectation for Alec to begin with, but obviously he didn't even break camp. He was injured. When he did pitch, he pitched okay, not great, but was okay. And now he's had surgery, which I guess it reads as if it was Tommy John, but it was like a hybrid with some internal brace. Scott Mitchell reporting that the recovery timeline is expected to be a typical 12 to 14 months. So if it's 14 months, that means he's going to miss next year as well, more or less. Maybe he returns in August or September next year. But, Manoah's a write-off. I don't know what happens with Bo. Springer, I think it feels too far gone. So, even if they all played better, the team would be obviously better, not World Series caliber. But if you're an individual player, a guy like Bo who's trying to launch his career here, trying to make money, trying to sign a new deal, figure out where he's going with his career, this season has been a mess. No other way to put it. And your team's not going to save you.
It seems like something's got to be up with him. And the thing about being a professional athlete is sometimes you've got stuff going on behind the scenes, whether it be a girlfriend, whether it be personal stuff, whether it be family stuff that nobody knows about. It just seems like there's no way that him in the right mindset and healthy could play like that. It just doesn't seem like it's possible. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be something up with the guy. I don't know if it was the calf or something else that was bothering him. But isn't he too talented of a player to go out and post? You just posted those numbers. That seems like a guy from A-ball that just...
Those are absurd numbers. Those are designated for assignment numbers if you're 32 and on a one-year deal. We have to move past you. Obviously, that doesn't apply to Bo, but this guy's got 4 home runs, and we're into the second half of June.
He's got 7.
Well, exactly. That's a totally different beast. And Vladdy, has his own issues, and that speaks to why the team is where they're at right now. But that's another thing where you marry the two, the individual issues with the team issues. Bo can't rely on his team to afford him an opportunity at redemption, right? If everything else was working in a well-oiled machine, you'd say, hey, give me some time. Eventually it'll click, and I'll jump on the bandwagon. And come August and September when it heats up, I'll heat up too, and everything's going to be all good. But if it continues on the pace that it's currently on, by September, no one's going to be paying attention. Like if you're on pace for 77 wins or something like that, by mid-September, the Leafs are back in town, the Raptors are in town, the NFL's back, CFL's coming down the stretch.
Just blow by,
it's no one's. Oh, hey, you see Bo in this last 2 weeks? No one's going to care about that.
No.
So
right.
that's what's setting up here for just a completely lost and ultimately forgettable season for Bo Bichette. And it's too bad he's on the IL. And again, it's not going to be a long-term issue, but I don't think it's going to be, hey, it was injuries that got him. This guy's been playing all year and he hasn't performed at any point.
What do these contracts look like, guys?
I don't know. I mean, that's a completely different story. What's happened here is it's moved past what do the contracts look like to are they a part of your program? You know, that was another thing I think that doesn't come up enough with like the Marner stuff and the Leaf stuff. The money will be settled. It's going to be what it is. It's going to bother a lot of people. That's pro sports. Everyone looks at it. What did Lou Lamoriello say? It's too much money, too much term. That's every big contract. It's not just you can't start with the money. You got to start with the player and the fit and the team. Right? Like ultimately if you're evaluating, is this guy the right piece? Is he going to fit in? Do you believe in him down the road? All that kind of stuff. And I think that certainly applies with Bo and Vladdy. I don't have that answer. That's on Shapiro and Atkins to figure that out. But the production certainly doesn't speak long-term big contract. It can't. How could you possibly pay these two guys a monster deal? You can't.
At the start of the year, they basically, the Ohtani thing was off the table, and they had a couple signings, and that was about it. But they kept saying, we believe in the group internally. And I took that as that was Biggio, that was going to be Vladdy, and that was going to be Bo. Those guys were going to get to the next level and just drag this team, into wherever. And you look at them, one guy's not with the team anymore. The other guy's, like you say, hurt, and Vladdy's got 7 home runs. Like that's really, there's a reason why. And come back to your point, Brian, you got to decide if these two are the players you want to build around in the future. And what does that look like? That's really what it is.
And who's going to be running the show? Is it going to be Atkins? Is it going to be Shapiro? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here with the Jays. And, again, it didn't go well for them last night. Boston, nice of Boston to get a win. The city of Boston, they deserve that, right? After the Red Sox pick up a win and the Celtics win another championship.
Dude, I was thinking about that last night. Like, another championship for that organization. Like, God almighty.
For the whole city, man. Like, the Bruins are so good. The Celtics win. They win in 5. This was the most routine season ever.
80-21 or something the whole year, regular season and playoffs. 80-21.
Never lost. It just felt like they never lost. They were always in control. They don't have any MVPs on their team. Jaylen Brown's a great player. Tatum's a great player. They got a lot of really good players. But they don't have, like, the guy. Obviously Tatum and Brown are the guys, and Brown won Finals MVP, and he's been great. But they don't have a LeBron there. It's not a Steph Curry there. It's just by committee.
I'm glad to see that, by committee.
Yeah.
And you know what? I thought about their team when watching them win the championship. There's a team, because we always gave it to the Leafs, or whether Tavares said it about learning lessons. That's a team I think learned some things along the way. They got to a finals against G-State. And they probably realized, either we're not playing good enough or we have another level to get to, anything. They probably walked away from that saying, if we actually want to pull that off, there's different things we got to do. Maybe it's personnel. I don't know. But they could have learned something. And they talked about that loss to Miami in Game 7 last year, and they said we were so embarrassed by that, and that kind of motivated them, and they learned from that. You want to talk about a team that maybe learned something? That Celtics team maybe learned some things in the last 2 or 3 years where they put it to use and won a championship.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the important part. It's great to learn lessons. If you don't apply them, it's meaningless.
Right. Yeah.
Right? You can't just, hey, we're learning. A lot of learning over here. Are you applying anything? You're just a professor? You're going to go out and actually do it. And you're right. The Celtics have had trials and tribulations. They've had ups and downs, yet they've been a well-oiled machine since day one of the NBA season. And the NBA is now more about parity, and they're spreading things out. And this was the 6th year in a row that there was a new champion, right? Dating back to 19 when the Raptors won. It's been Raptors, Lakers, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets, Celtics. A new team basically every year. And Boston showed up, though, and basically allowed the world to know early in the season, it's not your dance. It's ours. And we're not going to allow it to get away from us. And they never did. Like, they steamrolled through the East. They steamrolled through that finals. Like, they lost one game in embarrassing fashion in Game 4. The other 4, they just said move. Like, we're better than you. We're going to defend more. We have our X's and O's in order. We know who's on the court. We trust each other. And we're on a mission here. And I got a great appreciation for that. And, yeah, if you're from Boston or a Boston sports fan, it's ridiculous now. Like, it's ridiculous what you've had for the last 25 years.
And I'm sure the Red Sox will just somehow get on some kind of heat.
Yeah, they'll turn it around.
Yeah, they'll turn it around, and they'll just be dominant, and it'll be Red Sox baseball again, and they'll win.
And Drake May will turn into the next Patrick Mahomes and be the best quarterback in football in 5 years, and the Pats will return to glory. It's just incredible what they do in Boston. And, like, I can't imagine you'd be bored by it, but you'd probably take a rain check on a couple, right? You're like, oh, that was a good one. Yeah, I missed that one. I didn't get to that parade, or had tickets to go to that game, but I was there in 19, and I just said, forget it. Yeah, meanwhile, up here in Toronto, we're like, is there anyone close? Can we get a game in the finals?
You can't. I mean, you're right. There's probably people there that have season tickets for everything and just can't do it all. They're busy, or had to give the tickets away because they're traveling or whatever. You're right. Because of the amount of championships going back to the Patriots, and then the Red Sox, and then the Bruins, and then into the Celtics. Like, there's I guarantee you there's somebody that does it all, and not just a scribe. Like, it'll be a fan of that area.
Absolutely.
That has season tickets for everything.
Been to all 4. Seen all 4 champions at some point over the last 20 years. Incredible. All right, Nathan MacKinnon, he's a champion. He'll join us in about 10 minutes. Nate coming up on the Cup Final, on his season, playing for Canada in the future, which is big. We'll catch up with Nate. It's coming up in about 10 minutes. Game 5 Cup Final tonight. Matthew Tkachuk with some comments. Some people are deciphering it one way or the other. We'll play it. We'll see what you guys say about it as we head into Game 5 tonight. Overdrive off and running, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Mike Johnson still to come later this afternoon. Sam Mitchell on the end of the NBA ride, and Celtics winning and what they achieved and what happens now moving forward. We already have off-season activity. I saw the Celtics executives had a workout at their gym today, a pre-draft workout the day after you win a championship.
What does some of those people's breath smell like?
Oh, can you imagine that? Brad Stevens, the GM, disheveled.
Yeah.
As he should be. But you know how cool it would be to be a prospect there, too? You're like, these are the champs, man. Like, let me fall to them. I want to come here, be a part of this program. But, that was going down today. Game 5 Cup Final, or Game 5 of the Cup Final tonight. And Matthew Tkachuk was asked about the opportunity that lays in front of Florida tonight. Here's what he said. Okay. Or maybe this is not what he said.
Looking forward for hopefully my best game of the series tonight. I thought, last game was nowhere near good enough, and I'm way better than that. And maybe the last 4 periods, even going back to the third period of Game 3, can be a lot better. So I don't know. Good part about us is it's not about one guy. It's not about individuals here. We have a chance to capture the biggest goal of our life tonight, so we're going to go do that.
All right. We're going to go do that. Is that a guarantee? How are we responding to that?
The Messier guarantee.
Is that a Messier guarantee?
Dude, I love that comment. I don't know if that's a way of saying we're going to go win tonight without saying that. So it's perfectly phrased where he can keep the flies off the losers out there that, like us probably, that are going to take it and run with it. But it's just a great comment, showing confidence, saying that he's going to be great. He knows he hasn't played up to his potential. Just like Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg takes ownership.
I like it too, man. Yeah. And I think it's perfectly worded to your point where if they lose, he's like, I didn't guarantee anything. But if they did, I guaranteed that.
I called it.
You call it. Because if you become a guarantee win guy in a cup final and you win, that's massive. Like, you can't pay for that kind of publicity. That's like Messier's guarantee wasn't "I guarantee." Wasn't it a little wordier than that?
Wow.
His was
We will win tonight.
Will win tonight.
We
Yeah,
will
we
win
will
tonight. Okay, I guess that's enough. Like, it's not a full "I guarantee," but that's kind of the same way that Kachuk just approached it tonight. I like that.
Yeah.
And I don't recall a guarantee coming from Nathan MacKinnon back in 2022 when they beat Tampa in the Cup final. But he might have been thinking of it.
Probably
He probably
said it
was.
in the dressing room.
Probably in the room, right? You
Yeah.
rallied together, and they won that series in 6. And here he is, the captain of assistant captain of the Colorado Avalanche. Here's Nathan MacKinnon. How you doing, Nate?
What's up, man? I definitely wasn't guaranteeing that. I was scared. I was scared of losing. I wasn't guaranteed anything.
What do you mean you were scared of losing? Explain that to us.
I think you're always scared of losing. I think you play a little better like that, I think, I was just thinking about Florida and how hard it is to win your first closeout game. Everyone's flying in for the game, tons of family and friends, and it's heavy. It was really heavy for us at home in Game 5, and I'm sure they'll feel a little better tonight, the nerves, but still, obviously, Edmonton could be feeling it now too. But it's a tough game to win.
What's it like when you're like just the experience? I mean, I played in a cup final, never won it, and never actually got close to where you're going to play the game where you can actually hoist the cup. And I think, Nate, you would agree, leading up to it, you're just playing in the playoffs, right? It's just like, we got to win this game, we got to win this series. And then when you're getting close to the finish line, like, how anxious is it to think, like, I could lift? Did you think about that moment where it's like, after this game, I could possibly lift that cup?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the whole day, I was thinking about it. Me and Landy were driving to the game, and you see all the fans in the street. And then I remember when we lost, I always do a bike ride after the game, and I just started freaking out on the bike. Like, this is the most miserable thing I've ever had to do in my life, is bike after losing a cup clinching game. But you got to get back at it. We only had a 1-day break, flew to Tampa and played the next day and won. So it's a crazy roller coaster of emotions, but that's why it's so awesome, is because you want it so bad, and you're so scared to lose. You don't want to lose that moment. You'll never know if you'll get back, and that's why it feels so good to win.
You mentioned
So my
some
dog
of
is
the
chewing on a bone. 1 second.
Yeah, go take care of that, please. This is the
Maggie.
first time we've done a FaceTime and a guy's left. I love this. We're breaking
got an
records
antler.
here, man. This is going to get us a sports Emmy, I think. You take care of that dog.
No,
Okay,
I was
she's
just
good now.
I was talking about, you mentioned the distractions. What Florida had. It's well known. The family flew up to Edmonton, all of that type of stuff. Is that hard to manage leading up to the game? Because you obviously you want to share it with your family, your extended family, if you have a wife or kids, all of that type of stuff. How easy or how hard is it to park that stuff before the game?
It's hard. I think after we lost that game, we all kind of said to each other, like, we should have been a little more open about it, and like, hey boys, how you feeling? Like, it just felt like a heavy game. I'm not sure if every team feels like this, but we did, and we were one of the best teams ever recently. So I'm sure every team feels it, that it's just a heavy game. And, I think people, family and friends are wondering what the party is going to be after. And you're just like, we actually have to win tonight first. And it's tough. But like I said, that's why I feel so good.
With Nathan MacKinnon, so you go on the road, you end up winning in Tampa a couple days later. Take us through the process. Once you guys all get in the room, like past champs always say that when you're on the ice, there's a million people around, but maybe you get in the room. Do you close the door? Is it just the guys, or are there always other people in there? Like, at what point, how quickly after winning a cup did the 18 guys on the ice, the Black Aces, the other players get together, and it kind of dawned on you, like, we've actually accomplished this, and it was us that actually did this as opposed to everyone else who gets to ride this wave for us. Did you get any moments like that together? And if so, how quickly after actually winning it?
Yeah, I think we're probably on the ice for an hour. I'd say everyone, carrying the cup, and family getting pictures, and then I always kind of saw family in the room. Like, I didn't know what it was going to be like, but it was just us. in the dressing room for like 3 hours, and that was like the best time I can recall with the cup, like just the boys, um, till like 2 a.m. in the dressing room, ownership, coaches, just we haven't eaten. We ate pregame meal at like noon, and then it's like 1, and no one's eaten anything, so we're just having beers, and they're going down like 2 or 3, and you're just like loopy, obviously, and it was just awesome. It was a great feeling and something you definitely crave to get back to, and that's what we're working towards.
Nate, Matthew Tkachuk said in his comments this morning, he's like, we're not a team about individuals, although star players are so important to team success. And obviously when the Avalanche play, you're a massive part of it just because you're so talented and you're one of the world's best players. But how important is it for you? Like, do you let other guys know, depth guys, about their importance of the roles that they have to play to contribute, or is that the coach's responsibility? Like, how does everybody get set to understand it's not just about you or anybody else that's dominant out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think in an ideal locker room, everyone feels super included and equal. You know, I think, going back to the year we won again, guys like Andrew Cogliano, Darren Helm, like those are big voices in our room. And you need everyone, kind of pulling the rope in the same direction and, challenging, guys like that challenging myself to be better, or myself challenging other guys to be better. It doesn't really matter what you make or where you're on the depth chart. You need everyone to win. And that's what we had. It's a special thing. And I'm sure Edmonton and Florida both have those things. They wouldn't be this far without that.
With Nathan MacKinnon, you had a pretty famous press conference at the end of the season prior to you winning that Stanley Cup, where I think you had said, paraphrasing, you've been in the league 8 or 9 years, you haven't won anything, you're sick of it. We played that clip a bunch. We talked about it a bunch, and then obviously you made it pay off, literally a year later winning the Stanley Cup. How did you channel that frustration, and how did you make it work for you a year later?
Yeah, it feels like 10 years ago we actually did win now. I might say that quote again soon. But yeah, I don't know. I just think obviously it was a perfect storm, next year how good we were. But I just think when you feel like you have teams to win and you don't, it just feels like a waste of a season. And it feels like that again this year for us. I felt like we were good enough to win and we didn't. It just leaves a really bitter taste in your mouth. But yeah, I think after that, I think I got asked about something about prospects or something, and I was like, I'm not thinking about prospects or next year. I just wanted to, or we all wanted to win. I wasn't the only guy, obviously. So yeah, obviously the quote worked out, and maybe I should have said that after this year. We could win next year. I don't know. Try it again.
Yeah, it is. It was an unbelievable quote. We talk about it all the time. It's funny because when I played in Florida, we had a strength and conditioning guy named Andy O'Brien, and that's who you're working with. Now, Andy has obviously moved on to a lot better athletes than he worked with in the Florida Panthers back in the day. I ran into him the other day in Edmonton, and he was just shaking his head at me because I can't imagine, a fat goaltender he was working with back in the day compared to some of the guys he's working with now. But talk about your partnership with Andy and Quench and all of that and how it's come about.
Yeah, anything Andy does usually is first class. He's a genius. He won back-to-back cups with Pittsburgh. Now he's back-to-back finals with Florida. So he's doing something right. And obviously I trust his judgment. And I'm pretty picky about what I put in my body and who I partner with. I don't want to partner with a brand that's not good for you. And, kids look up to me and then they, drink and eat crap. So definitely passionate about this brand, and it's great for you. And definitely excited for it to get going.
Yeah, you've teamed up with Sizzle Brands and Quench Hydration, which, yeah, I mean, you mentioned it with like kids and stuff. Like up here as a Canadian guy, I'm sure if you're back home, if you're in Halifax or out east, everyone knows you when you're in Denver. But what about your profile like throughout the country? We all think you're going to win the MVP this year. You've won the Cup. You're going to be one of the faces of Canada next year and certainly at the Olympic Games. Like, how much pride do you take on that, the profile that you have really coast to coast, even though you've played your whole career, your pro career in the States?
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm always surprised of it's a little bigger than I always think. I go to Toronto and my girlfriend's from Toronto, and then I, go Vancouver, and people just love hockey in Canada. I forget that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I don't take that lightly, and especially growing up, I think if I saw one of my favorite players with a sports drink brand, I would want to drink that no matter what was in it. So I'm happy that this is actually a healthy thing, and I'm happy to put my name behind it for sure.
Do you think there's a city or region in the country, 3-on-3, that could match you, Sid Marchand? You think anywhere in the country could match what Halifax and the greater Halifax area can bring to the table right now?
I don't think so. I'm biased, but I like that mix. Who knows what Marshy's going to do out there, and then obviously Sid's the best ever. So I'll just try to get on the forecheck as a right winger. See what I can do.
Marshy would spear a guy in the nuts, and then Sid would cycle it by himself, and then you could just rip it under the bar.
Yeah, exactly. He takes someone out early. So.
There you go. That's a pretty good match. Those guys, they've had the ability to play for Canada in the past. We talk about it often. Yourself, Connor, you guys got jobbed a little bit based on what's happened the last 8 to 10 years. How much time and effort and energy have you put into thinking about that, like playing for Canada best on best, because it's right around the corner?
A ton, yeah. Me and Sid were just on a little golf trip, and talking about the power play lines. I'd love to play right wing with him. That would be my little kid in me I would gladly go to the wing, no problem. Can't win faceoffs anyway, so that would work. And that would be a dream. Yeah, so obviously missing a couple Olympics recently sucks. There's nothing better than representing Canada, and that's our goal. And I'm happy that it's finally happening next February.
Mm-hmm. He is Nathan MacKinnon. He's teamed up with Sizzle Brands and Quench Hydration, and it's the next generation hydration product. So good luck with that, Nate. Good luck with the off season, and we really appreciate you doing this. Thank you for this.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it, Nathan MacKinnon. That was cool, man. He's got his dog buzzing around. And that would be a cool little practice, 3-on-3, like Halifax, Greater Toronto Area, Vancouver, Edmonton could definitely supply a team. The province of Saskatchewan could supply a team.
We should put together a 3-on-3 team from the 7 Canadian cities, NHL cities. That would be to see who's from there.
But those 3 would be out because they're in Halifax. Like, you got to have Sid, Marchand, and MacKinnon
not from the 7 cities, then maybe where there's dense population of NHL players, where you could put 5 or 6 guys on. Because I think Drake Batherson skates with them as well from Ottawa. So Batherson's out there. I know Sid and him are buddies, and MacKinnon and him are buddies. So
you're a heavy hitter when you're making line combos on the golf course.
Yeah.
Most guys
what's coming.
Most guys are like, I don't even know if I'll make that team, and they're making line combos.
Right.
Yeah.
I like
drawing
that,
up PP plays on the scorecard.
Well,
if I go like here, you go there, and I'll go back door.
Could you imagine? They're literally on the golf course going over the power play for the Olympics. That's really funny.
Yeah,
that's
John
pretty cool.
Cooper, be ready for it, Coop, because that's what's happening. You're not running the show. These guys are running the show.
That's awesome.
And I could see that. I think, I'm doing putting my Team Canada together for Free Agent Frenzy, and I think I got MacKinnon on the right wing. Now, I had him playing with McDavid, but if he wants to play with Sid, that could work too.
Well, why not sit on the left wing? Like that's a disgusting line.
You see Sid, McDavid, MacKinnon as a top line? That would be gross. That would be gross.
Well, who else could you push there? Would it be?
I had Hyman up there. I had Hyman with McDavid.
What about Marchand? Is Marchand's not on your team?
I have him. Oh, yeah. I can't give everything away.
Just tell us your team. Come on.
Yeah.
Tell us your team. Take a break and tell us your team.
I'll tease my top 2 lines.
Okay,
because I know a lot of people are waiting.
Take a break and tease your top 2 lines.
You want me to come back with my top 2 lines?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come back with my top 2 lines, and you guys tell me how you feel about them, okay?
All right, cool.
All
right, so we'll get to that. Mike Johnson coming up. Thanks again to Nathan MacKinnon. We appreciate that. Awesome guy. Champ. Yeah. He might drop that same presser again. Right?
Yeah.
He may have to go back and say, been 3 years since I won a cup or 2 years since I won a cup. We haven't won anything. That guy, and he said it, man. You got a great team that you feel like you can win and you don't. It's a wasted season. That's what he said, and I appreciate that mentality. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Mike Johnson in about 20 minutes. Sam Mitchell coming up later this afternoon, and we got Game 5 of the Cup Final tonight. Thanks again to Nathan MacKinnon for joining us. And Nate said he spent a lot of time, a lot of energy thinking about playing for Canada in the future. And he let us in on some info that he and Sid were just on a golf trip. Guarantee you they played some unreal courses wherever they went.
No, like they're not going to – those two guys, they're not going to Canada, I guarantee you. They're going to Spain to golf.
Yes.
Like they're playing –
Valhalla or something.
Yes. They're going to just a world-class place where nobody would ever bother them.
Right. Yes. Top of the line, like in a villa or something, like the greatest course you've ever seen, countryside. Yeah, they're decked out and they're living life like they should be. But he also said while they're on that trip, they were mocking up lines for Canada, working on power play X's and O's, which I like. I like to hear, and that means obviously Sid. You know those guys; they all look up to Sid. Sid scored a golden goal. Sid's got 2 gold medals.
Yeah.
And MacKinnon has not been able to do that. Brad Marchand could not do that. He wasn't there in 14. He was there in 16 when they won a World Cup. But they're going to be a big part of Canada moving forward. I would think MacKinnon for sure, Sid for sure, McDavid for sure. In terms of the next week or two when they have to announce their first 6 players for the Four Nations Cup, those 3 will be on it. I think Marchand could be too. I would not be surprised if he was. Not young anymore, but still really effective, great player. So I'm putting together my Team Canada in conjunction with other people. Right? We're all kind of working together here, and we're getting ready for free agent frenzy. And you want to hear my top 2 lines?
Yes.
I'm dying.
I'm just working this out. This is just workshopping, okay? So it could change by July 1. First line, Hyman, McDavid, MacKinnon. That's my top line.
Okay.
Second line, Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby, Braden Point. That's my second line.
That's a horny lineup, man.
It's tough to argue with that right now. Like I don't think that I can argue with.
And
that.
I like the idea of MacKinnon on the right wing, but then there's so many coaches that would drink beers and draw on napkins, and that's what they do.
Man, oh man.
Like to think of MacKinnon coming over the boards after McDavid is a scary thing as well.
Really scary. Now, I was going 87 vibes, Gretzky and Lemieux. Like, that's what I envision. I envision McDavid, MacKinnon, 87, Cobb's Coliseum, the 2 of them coming over the boards.
That's why you're good at this stuff, man. That's why you're good at this stuff.
That's
I'd have you on the
drawing.
team. I'd have you on the team as an advisor.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're looking at revamping potentially if you wanted 87 with 29 and 97, or no, that's too rich.
I think Sid is still so strong up the middle of the ice that I want that smarts, I want that IQ. And what I'm really doing is replacing Patrice Bergeron with Braden Point. Right. In terms of that line, like how effective that line was, Marchand, Sid, Bergeron. I'm just putting Point in there. I think Point fits in seamlessly.
Seamlessly.
Yeah.
Yes. Big game player, won cups. You know he's a big gamer. You know he battles. He fights for position. He scores. He's got everything you're looking for in that line. You put that line on when Matthews is on for the Americans, good luck. Good luck, Austin.
Does my guy Tony Cirelli
talking Matthews now?
I am when it comes to Canada versus the U.S.
That is disgusting.
Absolutely, I will.
Is my guy Tony Cirelli in the mix somewhere?
He is on the fringes of this team, but he's not alone because you go through it, man. You know, we talked a lot about Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt's a guy on the fringe. I think Nick Suzuki's a guy knocking on the door. Nick Suzuki's a really good, smart player, a guy that I think would fit in well with a lot of quality players. Something, with all due respect to Montreal, he has not been able to do in his pro career. I don't know what Suzuki looks like with a decked-out lineup. You know, this year he played with Slavkovsky and Cole Caulfield, like 2 young guys still trying to figure it out in the league, good players.
They got it going near the end, but you're right. Like that's not Montreal hasn't turned the corner yet, so you're wondering how that he looks with top tier competition, all
Right.
of that type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, there is the forwards. There is so many options.
Yes.
Like so many. Like Steven Stamkos on your, is that the more of a fringe type of look?
He's
Man,
on
oh,
the
man.
he might be in the third
Oh.
cut, man. He's maybe second cut, maybe on the fringe, but you know, because
Wow.
well,
Some depth.
let me throw two guys at you, and you tell
Dude,
me.
I
how
want
you
you
would
to
react.
put the whole squad on the
I
board
can't
for
do
Joe.
it.
You
Can't
do it. Do
I'll
it.
Kicked off.
Try-
I won't. This Quizmaster will.
He probably already hates your
drive to
guts
your
for
house.
even
Already
mentioning
probably
this.
He's already he's on the QEW right now, driving to your house.
I will
He's
be
gonna
getting a
kick your door
call.
down.
I'll
Yeah.
bet you while we're live on the air, I'll get
Yeah.
a call, and he'll just politely say, "Don't ever do that again."
Yeah.
Let me throw two names at you. You guys tell me how you feel. I'm just spitballing. I'm workshopping.
yeah.
Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart. Where do they fit for you on Canada?
They're awfully sniffling. They're sniffing really hard. They've got their
Wow.
nose to the ground sniffing.
If we wake up tomorrow and they're Cup champions, right? Like that, that might look different if they're Cup champions.
That
Think
Carter
about those
Verhaeghe's
guys on the
player.
same
Saturday
line.
or whatever,
Think
right?
about them on the same line with a guy like Sid. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing.
Windy, Windhorst. Now, why would I
And-
bring them up?
Yes.
Now, why would I bring the two of them
And
up?
think about who the coach is, and think about the success in Florida. Think about that.
Now, why would I bring them up? All right.
Interesting.
All right.
Hour two coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.